Hey, what is up everybody? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Frassix and I'm really excited for today's video because 1 year ago from the day that I uploaded this video, an album was released into the world and it changed our lives forever. It was one of my favorite moments of 2020 and it was my #1 album of the year, as well as everyone else's album of the year apparently. And what album am I talking about, you may be asking yourself? Well, if you couldn't already tell from the title or my shirt, I am talking about Folklore, the album by the one and the only Miss Taylor Swift. And I honestly cannot believe it has been a year since the surprise release of the album. Even though it wasn't really a surprise release, she told us about it 24 hours beforehand, but still it was such a big deal back then because Taylor never did anything like this before. It is my second favorite album from Taylor behind Red, and you guys may be wondering, how much do I love this album? Well, I ordered a bunch of merch and stuff from this era, such as my shirt, which also has the track list on the back. I also bought one of the vinyls, even though I know there were multiple vinyls, but I just wanted the official cover because it's just super iconic. I got the Cardigan voice memo in the big vinyl form. I got the Cardigan voice memo just in CD form. I got the Target edition of Folklore, and I got a signed copy of Folklore from Taylor Swift herself, and it's awesome. I literally, it's so fresh that I haven't even unwrapped it from the thing because I don't want to take it out and ruin it because I just love it so much. It's just perfect the way it is, and it's literally wrapped and everything, so I feel like I could sell this for $1 million honestly, but I'm not gonna because I just adore this and cherish this too much. And I also asked a few of you lovely people on Reddit as to why you think that Folklore was such a pivotal moment in Taylor's career, because there is no denying that it was such a monumental time for her and the music industry, and I just wanted to know your guys' opinions, so I'll be sharing some of those with you guys today as well. So just sit back, relax, and let's take a journey. So without further ado, here is my 1 year anniversary tribute video to the album by Taylor Swift called Folklore. Okay, so I guess I can start off with my history with this album and this era, and I think this technically takes place right after the release of Lover, Taylor's first album that she owned, which was released back in 2019, and I absolutely loved it so much. I remember that day so well that it released, and I just absolutely love that album. It's super underrated. And alongside the release of the Lover album, we also got the chance to get tickets to Lover Fest, which was going to be on the East Coast and the West Coast and overseas as well, and I got tickets to Lover Fest West in LA for the opening night in LA for the SoFi Stadium, and I was really excited because I got those tickets literally right after I watched the Miss Americana documentary, because I was just like, I didn't get a chance to see her during the Reputation tour, and that is one of my biggest regrets ever because I could have, but I didn't. So I was like, I'm gonna be definitely going to Loverfest no matter what happens, and I have family back in Southern California anyways, so I feel like it'd be a good chance to visit them as well. But of course, a month or two after the release of the documentary, the world was plagued by the coronavirus, and it honestly just changed everyone's life. It was such an historical moment. It was definitely rough at times, and one of the consequences to the pandemic happening was the cancellation of all outside events, and that included concerts, and that included Loverfest. And I was so devastated when Taylor announced it on her social media accounts that she was gonna be canceling the dates, and I was just like, my one chance to see Taylor, because I don't know when the next chance I'm gonna be seeing Taylor is, whenever this pandemic is over. And I was just super sad and super bummed, and I honestly thought that my year was gonna be super sucky after that. It already sucked, but that kind of last beacon of hope, I guess, or one of the last beacons of hope that I had was Loverfest West, and for that cancellation to actually happen, it was heartbreaking, honestly. But that all changed on the morning of July 23rd, 2020. I think that week I had off because I was on an on-off schedule for work at that time. So I think that week I had off, and thank goodness I did, because that morning I just came back from the gym and I was just relaxing on my balcony, you know, just sipping on the protein smoothie that I made. And that's when I got the notification from Taylor. Man, I was just like, okay, what's this? And then I opened it up, and she basically announced Folklore, and I was just like, I literally could not, I remember, like, I just couldn't believe it, because I was just like, there's no way that this is happening. There's no way that we are not getting just one song. We are not getting a single announcement. We are getting an album release, and it was gonna be happening that night. And I was just so happy. I was just freaking out on my Instagram account and my Twitter and everything. And if you guys don't follow me on there, you guys definitely should, because I was just so happy, because again, the pandemic was very sucky. Even though there were some good things that came out of the pandemic, overall it was just a pretty sucky experience, and I was super down. And I guess this was just the pick-me-up that I really needed at that time. And I wasn't the only one that was excited. Everyone online was making such a big deal about it. Everyone was freaking out that we were gonna get an entire album. And I guess that's also when people realized that Cruel Summer would never become a single, which my heart was breaking, because I really wanted Cruel Summer to be a single. But it's okay, because with Cruel Summer not being a single and Loverfest being canceled, we got Folklore, and I'm super happy that we did. And then that night came, and then the album was released to the world. I reacted to the album, and if you guys want to see my reaction to that, the link for that will be in the description below. But that's basically it. And alongside the album, we also got the lead single / music video from this era, and it was Cardigan. And that was really where it all began, the Cardigan music video, because I had to watch and listen to the song at the same time, and I knew that it was going to be something special. And again, if you guys haven't seen my reaction to that, the link for that will be in the description below. Then after that, I listened to the entire album, and I honestly was just so shocked, but overall I just absolutely love the album so much. And I just remember pre-ordering everything as well, because she put out a bunch of merch, and she put out some vinyl and some CD sales, and I was just like, I need to get all of it. And in all honesty, it was totally worth it. The vibe, the mood, the sound, the experience of Folklore is probably something that only happens once or twice or a handful of times in someone's life, and I'm super glad that I got to be part of that. And like I previously mentioned, this is my second favorite album from Taylor. The first one is Red, and in all honesty, I feel like it's so close, honestly. Like, Folklore was such an experience, and Red is just a little bit, like, I don't want to say better, but it just holds like a special place in my heart, that I feel like Red is always going to be my #1 no matter what she releases. But Folklore overall was just, it was just pure insanity in the best way. And now, with my personal experiences out of the way, I'm going to be focusing on my Reddit post that I posted to the Taylor Swift forum, basically asking you guys as to why Folklore was such a pivotal / important moment in Taylor's career, and you guys definitely came through with the responses. So I managed to go through all of them, and I appreciate you guys again for doing that. If you guys actually did do that, if you guys haven't, you guys can still find that link in the description below. So after letting that post linger for a little bit in the forum, I went back and I read through all of the replies and everything that you guys posted, and I decided to make a video citing your guys' reasons as to why you guys think that Folklore was such an iconic moment in Taylor's career. So if you guys want to jump to a certain part of this dissection, or just a certain part of this video, you guys can find the timestamps in the description below or in the comments. So without further ado, let's begin. Okay, so like I previously mentioned in this video, 2020 was a very hectic year, and that was mostly due, or overwhelmingly due, to the pandemic for the coronavirus. It definitely took the world by storm, and it kind of made us all separated from each other. Like, even though we had social media and everything, it was definitely a lonely moment in a lot of people's lives, especially in mine. I know that I felt very disconnected from everyone and everything, just because I had to stay inside basically the entire time. And this pandemic was definitely one of the reasons why people responded so positively to this album announcement last year, because people, like I said, were just so sad and so lonely, and they needed something to look forward to. And I guess the sudden release of this was like something unheard of for Taylor, because this was the first time that she actually did this. And for her to release an album with all new songs, and people love Taylor's songs so much, her stories, her imagery, and everything that she puts in her track. So we knew that this album was going to be something special, especially with the aesthetic and everything, which, by the way, cottagecore was in at the time, and I guess that also helped out as well with the momentum for the release of this album. And I also kind of did a folklore inspired shoot like a few days after that with my friends, so yeah, it was pretty iconic. So besides the pandemic, another reason why people think that Folklore was such a pivotal moment in Taylor's career was because of the surprise announcement itself, because I feel like it's definitely a big deal when an artist surprise drops something, especially for an album. Especially if you're Taylor and you have that much hype with your name. Something like this definitely gets out and travels fast throughout the internet, especially if you've never done anything like this before. And I'll also mention this later on in the video, but Taylor is not the kind of person, like she herself said that she isn't the type of person before the release of Folklore to want to release an album sporadically, because she was the type of person that would definitely plan well in advance, you know, like which songs would be singles, which songs would have music videos, which songs would be performed, and then the tour and everything. So it was just a constant flow that she was so used to from her debut album up until the release of Lover. Essentially, like everything was essentially strategically planned, and I guess this, with the release of this album, she kind of had to let that go, and it was essentially the best thing for her because it showed that people were willing to have that kind of change, to have that kind of surprise. So with the release of a new album, a lot of people are going to be like, okay, how is it going to sound different, or how is it going to be different from the rest of her albums? And I think with the visuals alone that she released on her social media platforms, we definitely knew that this was going to be different than her recent releases at the time, because this was more grounded. We knew that this was going to have a special sound, something kind of reminiscent of Red, but it wasn't as bold. In a way, it was very subtle and not really flashy, but I guess that's what drew so many people in, because I think Taylor really outdid herself in the Lover era, where she was very sparkly and very colorful and very big and bombastic, and that's good and everything, but I feel like, you know, with the release since 1989 and then Reputation and then Lover, people were kind of getting tired of the pop aspect. Like, don't get me wrong, I love Taylor and I'm pretty sure everyone loves Taylor in pop, but it was just kind of getting repetitive, and I think Taylor was feeling that as well, because she did want to go a different way with this album, because she did write this album in isolation in her home, you know, just writing songs, just having a very minimal team, her label not even knowing that she was going to be releasing the album until very shortly before she announced the album to the world. So I feel like a lot of people really responded well to the genre shift, and I think this kind of thing also happened with Taylor when she went from country to pop, because people were making it such a big deal and really wanting to see and hear how this album sounded for 1989 as compared to Red and Fearless and Speak Now and her debut album, which it definitely did sound different. It had those synths, and I absolutely love 1989 so much, you guys know that. And I think that's what she does best, is just switch it up on us and keeps it always fresh and consistent and new for us to really be engaged with her. And that's why she has been in this industry for so long, and she still is at the top of her game, because she always has to, I guess, adapt to the ever-changing landscape. Because you gotta admit that the music that's popular today isn't the same kind of music that was popular 10 years ago, so you have to learn and adapt to an ever-changing environment if you want to survive. And that doesn't go just for music, it goes, you know, with, you know, any kind of entertainment industry, you know, TV, movies, and in real life basically too. If you can't adapt to something, and if you're very stubborn in your way and you try to hold on to something even though the whole world has moved on from it, you're not going to see much success. And for Taylor, she didn't do that. She, you know, went with the flow, and it is unfortunate that Taylor has to do this to stay relevant, but I'm so glad that she is open to doing this in the first place. And alongside this big shift in her sound and her musicscape is the lyrical context of this album. It's honestly one of her best pieces of work, and Taylor herself said that this album was gonna be stories and basically folklore, you know, myths and legends and everything that people can pass down. These are the kind of things that Taylor was thinking of when she was making this album and making these songs and writing these lyrics, because I feel like each song in this album has their own little world. I know that there's the love triangle and everything, but I feel like each song can stand on its own as being so unique yet so cohesive at the same time. And you know, props to Jack and Aaron for making this such an amazing album. And even in her first post about the announcement of Folklore, she said that she poured all of her whims, dreams, fears, and musings into the album. And with the short promotion that she did do for this album, she definitely emphasized that these songs were not just songs, they were stories, there were ideas and dreams that she had in her head that she put out into her music. And this was a very welcome change, especially for people that thought that Taylor was just a mainstream artist, that she didn't really have any deep, meaningful songs. And of course, us Swifties know that her penmanship is so amazing, and even from her debut album until now, she's basically written so many songs, and we know how much of a genius that she is, but the general public still didn't see that. And I feel like with the release of this album, people were wondering, you know, what was this about? So they listened to the songs and then realized that these songs were written by Taylor, and then they kind of go back into Taylor's previous discography, and then they realized that, hey, Taylor was always an amazing songwriter. Why did it take me so long to realize this until now? So I feel like the release of Folklore really brought in a lot more people and made them appreciate and respect Taylor more, not just as a songwriter, but as a person. And I feel like Taylor knew that people were sick of the whole love narrative, you know, who's she dating? Why is she dating this? Why did they break up? Yada yada yada. So for this album, Taylor really focused on stories not necessarily about herself, but about other ideas and concepts that she has had. And if it is about herself, it's done in such a poetic, beautiful way that you could literally relate it to anything. And I think that's what people wanted in these songs, is some escapism, and Taylor definitely did that, because again, at the time the pandemic was still pretty bad and we all needed to get away, and Taylor really did that, and a lot of people respected it. And you know, that's how we get these new fans, or even fans of Taylor's, because I think I read on the Reddit post that there were some fans of Taylor's that kind of, I guess, distanced themselves from her because they didn't really like how she was consistently doing like this upbeat pop sound. And I guess this album really drew them back in and kind of reminded them as to why they loved and fell for Taylor in the first place. And you know, I always knew that Taylor was an amazing artist and songwriter and producer and everything, so I feel like it's really satisfying for me as a fan to, I guess, for people to actually realize their, I don't want to say mistakes, but they just realized that Taylor deserves so much credit than she's given, and I'm really happy that this album kind of did that for them. And yeah, those are some of the reasons why people think that Folklore was such an important album in Taylor's career. And I'm pretty sure I didn't say all of the things that I should have said, because there were so many people with so many great ideas and explanations in the comments of my Reddit post. So again, if you guys want to read all those comments, the link for that will be in the description below. And if you guys didn't read the Reddit post, or if you guys want to input your opinions as to why you think Folklore was such a pivotal moment in her career, be sure to leave a comment down below. Okay, so before I end the video, I'll just go quickly track by track and just give you guys my quick, brief, I guess, summary and thoughts and feelings on each song, even though I know I reacted to each of the songs in my initial reaction for the album. But I just want to let you guys know what I think of each song 1 year later from when they were released. So the first one is The One, and I honestly love this song a lot. I didn't really like it at first, but I guess it got so much hype when it was first released, and I guess one of the main reasons why it got so much hype in the first place, at least my theory, is that, you know, when people heard that she was going to be releasing an album, I feel like most people listen to an album from the very first song, and this song just so happened to be the one that was first. So in a way, I guess that's why it got so much hype, but now I can actually respect it, and I just love how subtle, but I love the lyrics in this song. Number 2 is Cardigan, and Cardigan holds such a special place in my heart. I advocated for it so hard to go number 1, and it did, and I'm super proud that I could, I guess, help with that. But just overall, this song, when I first listened to it, this song was my first taste of the Folklore era, and I guess for that I'm just forever thankful that I did react to the song / music video first to get an overall feel, because I really feel like that song definitely captures what the Folklore album is about, and I just absolutely love it so much. It holds such a special place in my heart, and it's one of my favorite songs and music videos from Taylor, so if that says anything, there you go. Number 3 is The Last Great American Dynasty. I love this song so much. Every time I listen to the song, I think of the New England coast, or the northeastern part of the United States, just because that's where her house is essentially, and the imagery. And I guess this was the first time that I really was conscious of Taylor's songwriting and storytelling abilities, because I know that she has always done it, but this was, for some reason, this was a song that made me step back and be like, huh, this is something special that she's got going on. Number 4 is Exile featuring Bon Iver. And we all know what happened during the initial release of this album. Everyone loved this song so much, and for good reason. It was such a beautiful duet. It's still a beautiful duet, and it honestly just leaves me speechless every time, especially when it goes towards the ending. I just love that ending so much, and how it fades out. Beautiful. And then it fades out into track number 5, which is My Tears Ricochet. And every time, I know a lot of people can have different meanings for different songs, but for this song in particular, I think about the whole incident with Big Machine Records and Scott Frusciante and everything, and I feel like Taylor is singing to him. So that's what my thought process is whenever I hear this song. Number 6 is Mirrorball, and I don't know why I think of high school prom whenever I hear this song, but I guess it's because of the disco ball. But I just love the imagery and the picture that she paints, where it's definitely super sad, but it's a chill song. Track number 7 is 7, and I really like this song. Again, when I first heard this song, I really didn't know what to think of it, because I was just like, it's very subtle, but I just love the way that she sings in this song, and just her imagery in the song is really well done as well. Track number 8 is August, and this track holds such a special place in my heart, and I know that it is a fan favorite now, so much so that Taylor performed it at the Grammys. But I feel like when this album was initially released, this song didn't get as much hype, and I feel like my theory on that is that basically every other song was getting so much hype, and everyone was I guess focused on one particular song. I feel like this song wasn't a bad song, but it was just overlooked by everyone else, because this was probably the most poppy record on the album if you don't include The Last Great American Dynasty. I guess they realized how special August is and how much of a bop it is, and I've been saying this from day one, from the release date. So you know what, if you're an OG fan of August like me, let me know in the comments below. I can't be the only one. Track number 9 is This Is Me Trying, and I love this song so much. I loved it when I initially reacted to it, but I've just gained so much more respect for this song, because it's just so heartbreaking, and it's literally one of my favorite songs. I don't know exactly why. I guess it's probably just the slowness of the song and just the lyrics. The lyrics are obviously everything in this album, but for this song in particular, I just love it so much. And then that leads into number 10, Illicit Affairs. I was just like, oh my gosh. When I initially listened to this song, I didn't know what the hell was going on, and it wasn't until later that I found out it was about a girl cheating on, or a girl with a guy that was cheating on his wife, and I was just like, oh my gosh, you are better than that. No. And I love how Taylor like gets all these emotions out of me that I normally would not have if it was just another basic album, and I just love that so much, and this song is one of those songs that really does that for me. Then 11 is Invisible String, which I feel like is the most, I guess, personal song to Taylor on this album. I think, at least for me, for my opinion on what I think Taylor's most personal song on the album is Invisible String, just because there's so many references to like Joe and, you know, like blue and then gold and all those things that we know Taylor does with her songwriting to reference Joe, especially for Reputation. That was a constant thing. For Lover, it was a constant thing, and for this song it definitely shines through, and I absolutely love that so much. Number 12 is Mad Woman, and I know a lot of people can have their opinions on this song as well, but again, this kind of reminds me of the whole incident with Big Red Machine and like Scooter Braun and everything. And number 13 is Epiphany, and God, this song, like I don't think before the song I've ever been speechless, like legit speechless when I listen to a song. And this song is probably the most haunting song that I've listened to thus far in my life, just because of the lyrical content and like the production of this song. It's just so haunting in the best way. Like sometimes when I do listen to this song, like I just have to be very still, because I just wanna, it's one of those songs that I have to really sit still to appreciate, because it's so haunting. I just can't stop saying that about this song. It's haunting, but it's beautiful, but it's sad all at the same time. Number 14 is Betty, another fan favorite for good reason. It's one of those songs where it's just like, oh, it basically reminds us of Country Taylor, and she even performed at the Country Awards, which I reacted to that as well. And I absolutely love it. It's the third song from the Love Triangle on this album, the first one being Cardigan, the second one being August, and the third one being Betty. And I just love it, especially towards the ending when she goes an octave higher. I just love that so much. Even though I don't agree with the perspective of this song, I do think it's such a genius song. Number 15 is Peace, which I didn't really vibe with it at first. I still kind of don't vibe with it. And number 16 is Hoax. I really don't vibe with those two songs as much as the entire album, but I still listen to it just because I feel like those are very subtle but very beautifully written. And then 17 is The Lakes, which I don't know what to say. Like, I listened to this way later than the rest of the album, so I feel like I don't have the same kind of memories with this song as with the rest of the album, even though it is part of the album. But I don't know, I didn't really like the song when I first listened to it, to be honest. Like, I was just like, what the heck is this? But as I kept on listening to it, I just had so much respect for it, you know, whether that be for the lyrics, for the visuals, for the production, for everything, for The Lakes. It's one of my favorite tracks off of the album, and it's not even part of the original album, but I still love it a lot. So what is your guys' favorite track from the album? Let me know in the comments down below. And yeah, that is pretty much it for me, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really did enjoy sharing my thoughts and experiences and stories with Folklore, the album. And also I thank you guys again for commenting so much on my Reddit post. I didn't really expect it to gain that much traction, but it did, and I'm super thankful, and it kind of opened my eyes, and it kind of made me more appreciative of the Swiftie community, and I'm so proud to be part of such a caring, intellectual group of people. And again, thank you guys so much for that. And again, thank you guys so much for watching. It was such a nostalgic trip just to think back to that time when it was released, because like I said, it was in the middle of the pandemic. Everyone needed to pick me up. I needed some kind of happiness in my life, and this album really did it. This album here, Folklore, it's literally gonna be one of those albums and those vinyls that I will pass down to my children, and that I will always talk highly about. I'll wear this shirt with pride when I go down the street. Of course, when it's a little bit cooler, because it's summer right now and it's super hot outside. But I'm saying, like, when it's cooler and I'm gonna be repping this so much. So I've talked about my experiences with this album, so I just want to know, what is your guys' experience with this album? Do you guys have a specific story, or where were you when this album was announced, and where were you when you listened to the album? What song did you listen to first? What did you think of the album when you first heard it? Just let me know all of those things in the comments below. So if you guys like this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, all the usual things. Follow me on my social media accounts. Just keep up with everything Taylor that I do. And I'm probably gonna be doing this kind of video for Evermore when that 1-year anniversary comes up in December. So watch out for that as well. And until the next video, the wonder won't stop. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye. Woo!